So from the second we wake up to the minute we fall asleep, there's a fight happening for our attention, right? Brands the world over are spending huge budgets just to get us to notice them. It's actually a little bit sad, a little bit desperate when you think about it. And now with our friends in Temu coming to join that party, the cost for your attention is only rising. But is our attention getting any better, right? I know it's 3 o'clock in the evening. I can see Yella over here is itching to get back on his TikTok feed and find the latest shoes, right? But bear with us, Yella, this gets good. A quick Google search will show that the average person sees something along the lines of 4,000 ads a day. Now, I'm not sure what type of digital Times Square Google thinks we're living in, but that's wildly wrong, right? In actual fact, a study from the Drum found that we see closer to about 93 ads every day, which still adds up to 3,000 a month. Now, I'll be the first to admit my memory is shocking, but I reckon most of us in the room will be doing really well if we could remember more than 10 of those ads in really good detail. And so what's actually happening there? Well, the brand managers in the room will probably recognize this graph from their nightmares. A study from Amplified Intelligence found that one of the biggest challenges when it comes to brand building creative is that for the most part, ads aren't holding attention for long enough for them to be truly memorable, right? Users are seeing the ads, but they're gone long before it has a chance to resonate. And so what does that mean for us? Well, Yella's still on his TikTok, right? Attentions aren't changing. Competition is rising, but the creative isn't landing. But what if that wasn't the case? What if we could solve the creative problem to help flatten the attention curve? That's something we look to do for our client, Irish Tax Rebates. Now, normally you tell a social media manager that, okay, here's your chance to take a subject as unbelievably exciting as tax and to make it super exciting, super engaging on social media, right? Normally they'll be running for the hills and I can't blame them. But we didn't have that option, right? We took it on. Thankfully, the creative strategy we came up with went on to win 2 global social media awards for best use of TikTok and best use of social in a finance category. So I'm going to take you through that today. So the first, in terms of flattening that curve, right, it was threefold. First, we needed to create ads that stopped users from scrolling in their feeds. And this turned out to be really easy, actually. All you have to do is run ads with miserable puppets and cats driving Audis, and that's it. Job done, you can go home. In truth, we talk a lot about tapping into trends, and we're not just saying that for the sake of saying that. There's real psychology at play here. People get positive responses firing in the brain when they like and they engage and share this type of creative. It's what's helped make TikTok such a powerful platform. And in truth, it's what makes social media so addictive. And so we really ran with that. There wasn't any limit to what we would test here. From, viral memes, viral trends, viral sounds, green screen overlays, UGC content. We tested everything to see what is it that gets our users stopping in their feed and engaging for longer. But getting that attention is one thing, right? Holding it is an entirely different story. Now, luckily for us, the Irish audience, let's be honest, we're a really nosy bunch. We love to just know things. We use buyer decision questions to tap into, or to kind of tell users things that they wanted to know, needed to know, but didn't know. And while this worked well in motion text video, which I'm sure we all use, where it worked particularly well was in nano creator content, allowing us to join in the conversation in a way that felt more natural, more native, which is what our users have come to expect. And the last piece of the puzzle when it came to this flattening the curve strategy was in how we retained users right through to the end of our videos. Now, I have an issue when it comes to creative, right? Often I can find it can be over-edited, over-complicated, over-thought. We talk so much in Wolfgang about authenticity in your ads. And there's a reason for that, right? Just look at last year. Fake news, privacy changes, privacy concerns, to now this rising wave of AI. All this has done is led to the highest levels of social mistrust that we've ever seen. And so users are quite literally crying out for more authentic content in their feeds. One of the best videos we had for retention was as simple as someone sitting in a chair in an office room answering frequently asked questions, right? That video is not winning any awards by itself. Although you might argue Mabel the dog deserves an award for her performance, I'd agree with you. But why does it work well? It's genuine, it's authentic, it's real. It allows people to get closer to who you are, who your brand represents. And so with that, we had our framework. We had our framework for brand building, attention-winning ads by flattening this curve. Gone were the days of that quick, sharp decrease. We started to see a much healthier curve when analyzing our creative. Our ads started to show in the top percentages of the industry average for retention. We started to see likes and shares and engagement on another level, allowing us to further that reach organically. But most importantly, we started to see new user volumes coming in at never before seen levels, telling us that that creative strategy was absolutely winning attention.
So now that Stephen has managed to fight the good fight and win us all of this attention, that's where all the real work begins. Sorry, Steve. I mean, none of you in the room pay us just to get your attention. It's to turn that attention into value, right? We're all after what happens next, which is the conversion, the purchase. But our fight for attention can't stop here. We need to be able to retain it. Now, as a concept, retention sounds quite easy, but I think we all know that it's quite difficult to achieve. Sustainable retention requires a shift in focus from short-term conversions to preserving the long-term value of a customer. Now, bringing a user from the point of acquisition to conversion is tricky enough. Anything beyond that point is an uphill climb. Where a lot of businesses miss the trick is that they'll focus a lot on the first part of this equation and then not enough to keep the customer beyond this point. So let's take a look at how we retained user attention and managed to crack this problem for Irish tax rebates. So let's say the user has now become a customer. What do we do next with them? The first part of our retention strategy was to be very protective about keeping each customer even when we weren't selling to them. But what do I mean by that? So here's the challenge that Irish tax rebates faces that'll make things a bit more clear. So they operate in an industry that's plagued with copycat competitors. And as you can see from some of their names, it's easy to confuse yourself between any two of them, never mind the whole lot of them. And what we also found was that people were unwittingly signing up to these businesses thinking that they were signing up to Irish tax rebates. So we had our work cut out for us. We knew that we had to retain our users and not lose them to these competitors beyond the tax season. So to tackle this, we had to get very strategic with our email content. First, we used user data to show users creatives that they had previously seen on other platforms, sending them signals about the kind of colors, imagery, and brand messaging that they could come to expect. What we also did was we differentiated Irish tax rebates at key points in the customer's journey. So if somebody had just gotten tax back, they would also get reminded about how much they were saving on fees compared to other tax agents. So we'd stopped selling to them. Our entire focus now was to build a relationship with the customer by expanding brand awareness beyond the acquisition stage and humanizing the business and the people behind it. Now, the second part of our strategy was personalization. Now, I know this word gets thrown around a lot in our industry, but we didn't want to personalize just for personalization's sake. We wanted to really have the user at the heart of our retention strategy. And an easy way to do this is to have them lead the way in terms of the conversations that we would have with them. So we did away with the whats and whens of our emails and let user data and engagement guide us. For us, personalization was a key part of the puzzle in solving another challenge for them, which was related to trust issues. So we know about the copycats, yes, but they're also an industry that has probably one of the worst reputations online. They get a lot of flack and there's very low sense of trust. Basically, everybody thinks that the business is a scam. And I don't blame them, because some of the competitors that we saw earlier probably are. I'll probably libel case here. But so this was a very serious problem that we needed to address if we had any hopes of retaining our customers. What that meant was that we had absolutely zero margin for error when we were communicating with them. Every piece of communication needed to build trust and add value to the customer. But don't forget that what could be valuable to me might have absolutely zero value for you. So let's take this example. So this is an email with lots of information in it, catered to a few different groups of people. Now, while all of this content is valuable, it's not all valuable to the same person. So we took a slightly different route. What we did was, because we had user data relevant to all of these different user groups, we were able to engineer our emails to show very relevant parts of the email to relevant users. So say if you were unemployed, you'd get this version of the email. And say if you were also a single parent, you'd get this version instead. But if you were married, you'd get this version, and so on. You get the gist, loads of permutations and combinations. But the thing to remember here is that it's all still the single email, so we're not losing efficiency. We've just made our email smarter to show differently to different people. By being able to achieve this level of personalization is where the true value of first-party data shines through. The final part of our retention strategy was changing the way we thought about relevance. What we've come to realize is that sometimes what's really important for a business has extremely little in common with what your audience is actually interested in. Which begs the question, how long can you rely on chasing relevance? And at what point do you start creating it? Now, I know creating relevance sounds very revolutionary and very cool, but very hard to do. Even harder when your whole subject matter is taxes. I mean, let's admit it, taxes are not cool. Nobody talks about taxes after a few pints in the pub, although admittedly, Stephen and I have on multiple occasions, but that's just us. So how do you go about creating relevance in an industry like this? You start by asking one simple question. What's in it for the user? So let's look at an example. Here are work from home tax credits. Long story short, it's how you can claim back electricity and internet bills if you work remotely. Now, for Irish tax rebates, it's really important to shout about what these credits are and how someone can claim them. But for an average user, this might be the last thing that they're thinking about. And that's where creating relevance comes into play, because sometimes it's as simple as tapping into something that might be already relevant to your user and finding a common ground. So we have this email with like a lot of valuable content about these credits, but it doesn't matter. This email could have Booker Prize content on it, but if it fails to get the attention of the user after it lands in their inbox, what good is it? So what we did was we tweaked the hook a little bit. We joined in on an existing conversation happening about the rising cost of energy bills, which I'm sure a lot of us resonate with over here. And then we encouraged the user to take an action that the business wanted them to take, which was to claim these credits. It's by finding this tiny overlap is how you can create relevance where relevance doesn't exist. Think less about marketing the product or the service that your business offers, and more about the problem that you solve for your audience. So how did we really do with the strategy? We had an initial target of getting 20% growth in forms from new customers as well as existing customers. And we went ahead and landed a whopping 42%, which was a glaring signal to us that in a world where everybody is fighting for attention, those who figure out the relevance economy are going to win out. So relevance in your socials and relevance in your emails. So if you want to chat, if you want to adopt relevancy in your strategies this year and want to chat more about it, you know where to find us. We'll be right outside with a drink in hand. Thank you very much.